Yes.
As for new mayor, say God, give us a new mayor. Ain't doing that. No.
Thank you. All right, I've got 1 minute after 6, so we'll go ahead and start. We'll call to order our regular session of September 27, 2016 of the Schertz City Council. First item that we have on the agenda this evening is the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas, which will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Edwards. Please join me in standing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you bow your heads, Father God in heaven, we come to you asking right now that you will continue to give us wisdom and let us walk in integrity, Father God, in the positions that we hold. We thank you, Father, for the blessings that you bestowed upon this beautiful city, Father God, and the residents that we have. We thank you, Father God, for giving us discernment in all of our judgments today, Father God. And we just thank you in Jesus' Son. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Next item that we have on the agenda this evening, we have announcements of upcoming city events. Who has the
I have the
Mr.
duties.
James.
Just a reminder for folks, this Friday, September 30th, is Coffee with the Chamber. That's at the Welcome Center from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. And apparently Honey Baked Ham of New Braunfels will supply coffee and breakfast. Starting Saturday, October 1st, running through Sunday, October 16th, the annual fall cleanup. The drop-off for stuff is at 2221 FM 3009. That's right over there near Live Oak. And again, entry to the temporary collection points limited to Schertz residents during the city-sponsored spring cleanup and fall cleanup events. Also on Saturday, October 1st, we have Rods, Hogs, and Dogs. That's at Pickerel Park from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's a free event put on by the Parks and Recreation Department. Come out for some music, food, and view some cars. Sunday, October 2nd, First Baptist Church is holding a special worship service to show their support and appreciation for the Schertz Police, Fire, and EMS departments. There's a 10 a.m. light breakfast reception, and then the worship service starts at 10:30. Tuesday, October 14th is National Night Out. So no council meeting next week, but again, I'm sure council as well as staff look forward to getting out in the community and chatting with homeowners groups. Tuesday, October 4th through Friday the 7th is also the Texas Municipal League Annual Conference. That's held up in Austin. Friday, October 7th, the San Antonio Manufacturers Association is having Manufacturing Day. A tour in the area is being hosted by the Munters facility from 9 to 11 a.m., and that's at 16900 Jordan in Selma. But you can contact Patty Horan in the Economic Development Office to sign up for that. And then finally, on Monday, October 10th, city offices will be closed in observance of Columbus Day.
Very good, thank you, sir. Next item that we have on the agenda are announcements and recognitions by the city manager, Mr. Kessel. But Mr. Kessel is actually at a conference, so we have Mr. Waite here. Mr. Waite, welcome to the dais. And what do you have for us this evening?
Just one quick note. Council, you may have heard in or seen in your email notification to the employees that we're going to once again be teaching all the city employees CPR. And those that are appropriate first aid as well. And sometimes folks wonder why we're going to take a day out of all the employees' work schedules to teach them that, and is that really necessary? And so I wanted to just share a little thing that happened with one of our patrol officers, a sergeant in the police department, Josh Mixon. On August 29th, Sergeant Mixon oversees the SRO program for the school district for us. And on August 29th, he overheard a student at one of our campuses have a seizure, and so he went to the classroom. He was at that campus. He went to the classroom, met the nurses there, and discovered that the student actually had not had a seizure but had went into cardiac arrest. Josh assisted the nurses doing CPR, ventilating the patient, assisted EMS and fire when they arrived on scene. Because of his quick response, along with the nurses, the quick provision of CPR, the student was successfully resuscitated, and as of today is back in class at school with no long-term deficits. So we never know when our employees are going to need that skill. Sometimes it may be in their line of work, as it was with Sergeant Mixon. Other times it may be with their family or just out in public. So wanted to share that with you, a little example about why we want to make sure our employees know CPR very well.
Great stuff. Thank you, sir. The next item that we have a proclamation recognizing Fire Prevention Week, and I'm going to come down to the podium there and ask Chief and any others from the department that he'd like to have join him come forward. This is actually one of my favorite proclamations to read at any time during the year, but I'm going to start just by reading the proclamation and then make my favorite comment about it. And it reads this way. It says, whereas Fire Prevention Week commemorates the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which killed more than 250 persons, left 100,000 homeless, and destroyed more than 17,400 buildings, and serves as the motivating force to bring the people of Schertz together to build a safer community. And whereas the city of Schertz is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our state, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas cooking equipment is the leading cause of home structure fires, remember that one right there, and associated injuries, and the third leading cause of home fire deaths, and whereas heating and electrical equipment, smoking material, and candles are also among the leading causes of all reported home fires, whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and automatic fire sprinkler systems cut the risk of dying in a home fire by about 80%. And whereas the 2016 Fire Prevention Week theme, Don't Wait, Check the Date, Replace Smoke Alarms Every 10 Years, effectively serves to remind us all of the simple actions we can take to keep our homes and families safe from fire during Fire Prevention Week and year-round. Therefore, I, Michael Carpenter, Mayor of the City of Schertz, do hereby proclaim October 9 to 15, 2016 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this city, and urge all the people of Schertz to protect their homes and families by heeding the important safety messages of Fire Prevention Week 2016, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Schertz Fire and Rescue Department. So, first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for all that it is that you do, and particularly my experience of our fire department. My wife called me several years ago, about 7 years ago, I think it was, and said, the oven is on fire. And I said, well, close it, first of all, and second, turn it off. And she did. And she turned it off, and she said, it's still burning. And it was because the element inside, it was a chemical fire that was burning. And I said, hang up with me and dial 911. And she did. And it went right straight to dispatch into the fire department. And I was working well over in San Antonio. There was no way I was going to get here very quickly. But I didn't have to speed, and I didn't have to do anything unnatural or odd to hurry to get home, because I knew that these guys were on the way. And I knew that we'd never had a fatality from a house fire in the city of Schertz. And I had every confidence that my wife and family would be safe. And as it turns out, they were. And as it turns out, her calling 911, describing what was going on, and have them tell her, no, don't try to put it out, just get out of the house. Because she was about to grab a fire extinguisher, standard fire extinguisher, and try to put out a chemical fire. And what we learned that day was that would have blown up the whole kitchen, potentially. So from my family, and for the protection of my family, thank you for all that you guys do. And this is for you, Chief. So, very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, we'd like to thank you, everybody. We've got a lot of things planned this Fire Prevention Week coming up. A lot of things the fire department's doing. We'll be going out to all the schools and daycares and other establishments to talk to them. It's quite a number. Do you remember exactly how many we'll be going to? I don't have an So, but we try to hit every school and every daycare. So for us, it's not Fire Prevention Week; it's Fire Prevention Month, because it takes the entire month to get through it, to talk to everybody. We would also like to make you aware of. We sent out to the school district in cooperation with Schertz Cibolo Independent School District there. And we're doing a poster contest this year. It's our first poster contest. Flyers will be going out next week on it, and the school district already has the information on it. K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12 will be the categories. And we hope it's going to be a big success. We get a lot of good posters out of it. We'll be presenting those winners on October 25th to council. So look forward to seeing you then. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was reminded that this year also marks our 60th anniversary for Schertz Fire Rescue.
All right, the next item that we have on the agenda this evening is a workshop, and it's a discussion regarding the recent employee engagement survey. And who's got the lead on this one? Ms. Sarah, all right.
Mayor, you skipped an item.
Did I?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I did. I went from proclamation straight to workshop, so let me go back to presentation. It's a presentation regarding the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. I can't miss that one. Which one of you has that one? Mr. Santoya, this is a good one.
Mayor, Council, I am pleased to announce that we have received a certificate for financial reporting. Now, this report is called the CAFR. It's a, let me read this. It's a Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And what it is, it's a culmination of the audit. We spent, at the end of the year, we get our books, we audit them, we make sure everything is balanced, we make sure that everything reconciles. We collect statistics. It's the whole story of the city of Schertz during that year. And we put it all together in a report and send it off to the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers of America. And they get all these professionals to look at it and make sure that everything that is required is in there. And they get people that look at it, or auditors, people in the field of governmental accounting. And it's an exhaustive search that they go through it. And in the end, you get the award. So this year, we got it, and this is our 31st year that we get this report. So it's an exhaustive report, and it's great. When you talk about transparency, this is the original, or the first transparency that was out there. It started in 1945. The GFOA decided that the citizens needed to get more information as to what was going on in the city, so this report gives it to them. So I'm pleased to announce that we got it again this year.
Very good. Congratulations. It's well done. Thank you, sir.
And Mayor, I also have a press release, and if you would come down here and read it.
Absolutely, I will. It says it's from the Government Finance Officers Association in Chicago, Illinois. And it reads, the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has been awarded to the City of Schertz by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada, the GFOA, for its comprehensive annual financial report, or our CAFR. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. An award of financial reporting achievement has been awarded to the individual or individuals, department, or agency designated by the government as primarily responsible for preparing the award-winning CAFR. This has been presented to John C. Kessel, City Manager. The CAFR has been judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, including demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate potential users and user groups to read the CAFR. The GFOA is a nonprofit professional association serving approximately 17,500 government finance professionals with offices in Chicago, Illinois, and Washington, D.C. How many years did you say we've received this? 31. 31. That's pretty remarkable. I see 3, if I'm looking correctly. 1, 2, where's Mr. Douglas? There you are. I see 3 former councilmen from this city council here in these chambers tonight. They did this before I was around. 2 of them did, and 1 was part of that as well. So thank you, gentlemen, and 1, thank you, sir. Very good. Appreciate it. Right now, sorry, I got ahead of myself last time. A workshop, a discussion regarding the recent employee engagement survey.
Okay.
Mrs. Gonzalez, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight we are here to talk about our recent employee engagement survey that we did. Before I bring up Dr. Noel Landuit to talk about the results of the survey, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things with you guys. So first, if you all remember from our strategic plan that was approved back in March, one of our operational values that we have is an engaged workforce. And when we were going through the process and trying to help describe what that meant, you know, what it is not, and most importantly, why is it even relevant? What we came up with as far as the reason as why it's relevant is that we said, excuse me, an engaged workforce provides better service to our internal and external customers and is the foundation for continuous growth and progress. So in looking at that and thinking about, okay, we have this and how do we measure it? How do we know where we are? How do we know if we're progressing? And a way to do that is to administer a survey to our employees. And so we recently did that, and this is actually our second employee engagement survey. The first one was done back in 2014, and the second one was completed a couple months ago. And the goal is to administer these surveys every other year during the summertime. And the same organization that administered the first one also did it again, and it's the Institute for Organizational Excellence, and that is through the University of Texas at Austin. And this organization has over 30 years of experience surveying hundreds of organizations and hundreds of thousands of employees. So I know Noel's going to get up here and talk to you guys more about the results. One of the things I did want to touch on is that we had a very good response rate. Out of the 325 employees that we sent it to, we had 273 respond. So that equates to an 84% response rate. And that was very encouraging to see that our staff was willing to participate and to give us feedback, and so that we know, from 2 years ago where we are today and what we can do to help improve. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Noel Landuit. He is the Associate Director for the Institute for Organizational Excellence. And if I can have IT's help, and there's a PowerPoint presentation, please.
Thank you. And Dr. Landuit, welcome. Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. It's good to see you, Mayor, Council. This is the kind of visit that I really like to do because we do, as was mentioned, we work with probably about 100, 150 different organizations, and I get this really neat job of being able to ask about 250,000 employees that work primarily in the state of Texas, but not exclusively, what they think about where they work, with this effort to really engage and to get a more active workforce. I was at a conference last year that was in Salt Lake, and they had presentations did an analysis of Fortune 100 companies and Fortune 500 companies. And of the Fortune 500 companies, 92% did active employee engagement surveys. Of the Fortune 100, every one of them did employee engagement surveys. This is something that management and business and government is learning that is very essential. It's something that's also kind of unique in Texas. It's actually been required in the state of Texas since 1979 when Governor Clements was governor, and it continues now through Governor Abbott. So Texas is really on the cutting edge when it comes to getting this type of data. And when the city of Schertz asked us to do the assessment, we were very happy to do that and come down, assess the employees. As was mentioned, I'm going to jump to a slide. I'll use the keyboard. We went down. We did it all online. The survey comes in English and Spanish, and it's fully accessible. It's even now we have to do it any device, so it's available on a tablet, a phone, any type of way. All staff did it this summer, June and July in 2016. You switched instruments. This is a change from the last time we did the survey. The last time we did it in 2014, our instrument had 71 items. It was structured a little bit differently. The instrument was adapted. It came to 48 items this last time, and so you actually have a different one. It still allows for comparability on about 90 items, but it is a little different. This one is a lot easily, a little quicker for people to do. You still get the same good kind of analysis from it. The response rate from the city is 84%. When you get 84%, we're going to look a little deeper, but you don't have to look a whole lot deeper. That's an engaged workforce. You can maybe get 90%, maybe, but anytime you get above 80, you're really golden when it comes to that. And you can see the first year that we did this, it was in lower than that. Maybe there was some skepticism, a little bit of what's this all mean? Well, that certainly seems to change with the 84%. That's above our benchmarks that we have. And then we have an overall score for the assessment at 369, which again is very positive. It's in our green zone. We like scores to be above a 350. It's difficult to be above 400. It's not impossible. But when you get above that green zone towards the 370 mark, that's where we like to see organizations. So that's a very positive type of score. This is new to this assessment that wasn't there last time. This is an employee engagement scale. Probably about 15 years ago, Gallup, the large surveying organization, took a meta-analysis of these types of assessments that were done and created what was called the Gallup 12 Employee Engagement Scale that's now used by a lot of different places. I was happy to see that we had been asking 11 of those 12 items since '79, and so we adapted their scale and put it onto these 4, if you will, gears. Gallup will say, and we use this as a comparative benchmark for government, this is a government benchmark from Gallup, that those last 2 wheels, the disengaged and the moderately engaged, should be closer to 70%, 68%, 70%, than yours, which is 52. So that's very positive. But the national benchmark puts about 2/3 or more employees in those bottom 2 quadrants. You like to get people moved up to that green, the yellow, the green, and you like, it's good. 18% is fine. Most organizations is 12, 15. You like it above 20, but those are good scores. So we have this year as a comparative benchmark. We did a little bit different of analysis. We kind of look at the organization to see who the new hires are, who's experienced and very experienced and more tenured. We now ask an intent to leave and can you retire numbers. We find that a lot of baby boomers are retiring. In the state, the number is closer to 30%, so you're a little bit lower than that. And the intent to leave, 4%, is another indicator that this is an employer of choice. People like to work here. There's the demographics of the workforce that took the survey. That's pretty self-explanatory. The survey is structured similar to last time. We look at work groups, strategic, supervision, the workplace itself, community, information systems, communication, pay and benefits, always important. Employee development's another name for training. Job satisfaction and employee engagement. That's the way this one is structured. And this is the way the score shook out. Now this is from 100 at the low, 500 as a high. And so it's scored a little bit differently. And what you see here is the three highs are in the blue: strategic, employee development, or also training, and the employee engagement score, all three high. The three lower ones were internal communication, pay, and benefits. Now, I'm going to talk about two of those lower ones here in a second. The one that's interesting is that for governmental agencies, and over the last 10 years, we've seen a decline in people's perception of benefits, primarily health insurance. And we know that it's changed a lot in our workplace and how benefits are perceived. And the state just went to high deductible health plans, and I think your benchmarks are going to change that as well. I took those, and then I kind of give you these two comparisons. The one is the internal communication. Receiving information in a timely manner continues to be somewhat of a challenge. Work group encourages open and honest communication. That's a little bit low. First one, 27, communication channels tend to work through at work are reasonable. That's a little bit of a bureaucratic note. And on pay, my pay keeps cost with the living, 2.61. Salaries are competitive, 2.8. Fairly for your work to do, 2.89. Now, I do have to say that those are the most common low scores. I do also have to say that, and I should have made a slide of it, and I'm remiss in doing so, that if we look at the comparative score from last time, which I said the instrument changed quite a bit, but not really for these two constructs. There was one item different, internal communication. Pay didn't change at all. Pay was in 2014, was at a score of 201. It's now up to a 277. We call that in the world of surveys a statistically significant increase. Okay, so that's a good thing. And for internal communication as well, that was a 305. It's now up to a 346, and so that again is a big improvement. We like to see organizations move in that direction. I do have to say, when I look at the comparative state benchmark, that 277 is an exceptionally good score. The state, and again, this is not city workforce, it's state workforce. That is closer to probably a 230 than a 277, so that's a very positive score. On the flip side, strategic orientation is very high. Employee development, that's training, is very high. That's very positive. I think the CPR stuff is part of employee development. We're training our workforce to look beyond and engage with the community. And the strategic side is high as well. So that's all good news. There's still variation in the surveys. Some are low, some are high. We looked at various parts of the organization. There's always organizational variation, always things to improve and engage employees to do so. This is the slide that's also new this time. I'll start at the bottom. The average range when we ask employees about workplace harassment or ethics in the workplace, those scores will fluctuate usually between 6 and 8%. That's not uncommon. I don't get concerned about those numbers until they get into the teens, double digits or the teens. So you're well below that. But again, you don't want workplace issues, don't want harassment, so that's always worth to have a conversation, but those numbers aren't red flagging at all. Not enough opportunities to give supervisory feedback, about 1 out of 5. Upper management can communicate better, 1 out of 5. Survey, they don't believe the information in the survey is going to be used. I think this is a testimony that it is. 1 out of 5, those aren't too unusual, but that could be some work. And people, again, we're between 6 and 8%, a little less than the double digits field, not treated fairly in the workplace. That's a fairly low score too. So again, there's organizational variation, always things to work on, but those aren't red flags. We give a generic timeline. This is just up there, just as, it's good to do something with the data. I know that you all have done things with the data. The staff, it was brought back to the staff, and it talked about, in particular, the pay and changing that, and then some increases and changes of that. So you always go in for a regular physical, annual physical every 2 years. Go in for a physical. This serves the same purpose, to get a measure. So and overall, again, there's always some things to work on in the data. That the staff has asked me some questions already along that line, and I'd be happy to continue to work with them. And it's fun to work with y'all. It's good to work with good organizations.
Very good, thank you. Mind if I open it up to the council to ask any questions they might have? Gentlemen, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, Doctor, thank you for being here. I do have a couple of questions. What kind of companies, if you could just say off the top of your head, are in that 400 range in the Fortune 100?
Oh, and well, they're scoring. I can answer this, though, which is a little more local. We have a few state agencies that score in the 400s that are very. you can tell when you meet the management. They're very interactive, they're very dynamic. They have a problem, they go right to the employees. The Department of Licensing and Regulation is one of them. Actually, the Department of Insurance scores really high. The DPS does when it comes to commissioned officers, scores really well. And what you see when we look at those different organizations is that you really have management that cares about the people they work with and go to them to solve the problem. And that really makes, the big difference, we had presentations at this conference I went to, presentations from very large companies. CVS was one of them, it has phenomenal scores. It tracks metrics on all of its stores, and it tracks them with sales, and lo and behold, the higher your employee engagement, the higher your sales at that store, your higher your customer retention. Again, agents, organizations use it as a very firm metric because it makes a difference financially. For us, it makes a difference in government to instill trust, to deliver better services, and to have a more engaged workforce.
So the survey's first, the feedback is second, and then you have actionable items typically. And
Correct.
I just want to know from our standpoint here, if we've actually followed up with actionable items, are we doing that on a regular basis, Mr. Waite?
Yes, we are. Council was a part of that since the last survey with the class and comp study, which we think is probably wholly selected to that improvement in pay, even though the score's still low. Like Dr. Landuit said, it's always a low marker. Looking at the scores this year and seeing benefits in there and communication, we continue to work on our internal communication. Sharing information down through the department heads, down through the departments, finding new ways to do that, making changes based upon employee suggestions and ways to do that. And then on the benefits, our plan is during this upcoming fiscal year to do a complete survey of our benefits and start scoping out how we can, one, help the employees better understand, and two, make improvements where we need to make improvements. So in insurance or time off or whatever else could be counted as a benefit by the employee. So we plan on doing a wide overarching review of that.
Thank you. And I just want to thank the employees, because without them, none of this would be possible. For them to be open, frank, and honest and answer these surveys. I've had the opportunity to work for 2 Fortune 100 companies, and I can tell you, when you're in the management side and you're dealing with the customers and the employees, it's a little bit different. But I just want to thank the employees for all that you've done. I mean, it takes a lot to bare your soul and not fear retribution.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
thank you.
Indeed. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you all for the work on this. So it would be safe to summarize that our lows are higher than our previous lows, and our highs continue to rise above our previous highs. As
You had a
rough
rising
summary.
tide, yes.
Okay, so that's always excellent. Is there a way that we can see how Schertz compares to other Texas municipalities in populations of 35 to 60,000 in the main construct areas?
We have employee base for public employees, but not a tremendous amount of cities of that size. We're about to survey Alamo Heights. I didn't realize they're not as large. We've also been talking to one other city in this area. It's one of the San Antonio little cities that I don't remember its name.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
regardless of size, it'd be nice to see how we also compare to other cities, especially in this region.
And I'd like to give you either public employees that live in this area, because we do have that ability to do it out by zip code as well.
Mr. Zeus?
Is this survey anonymous, or they put the names and?
No, it's and the reason I smile is that's a more complicated question than it used to be. The survey, I technically cannot. It is anonymous as far as the data that you all receive, because you all get back de-identified, aggregate, summed up data. It is anonymous as far as we're concerned, because we don't collect and we differentiate names from responses. The reason I smiled is that given technology, since the university won't let me call it anonymous anymore, because I can't control an organization's IT system. And so if it was a paper survey, that would be different. However, having said that, the employee could take it from anywhere. Could take it from a public library, could take it from a different computer. So it would serve to be anonymous.
Okay, thank you.
It certainly is de-identified when we return it back.
Gentlemen, anyone else? All right. Well, so I too, like Mr. Edwards, have worked for a number of Fortune 500 firms, and There's a whole bunch of them out there that would do backflips to have responses at a response level of 84% and scores like we see. It's also interesting that when you say that there are very few municipalities of our size that you engage with that actually take the time to do this work. That's okay. We don't mind being kind of on the front end of that. However, if you're of the opinion that you all would like to see more, there's a way to evangelize that message, and I'm sure that we could help given our experience.
I'm all for good government, and this is a good government initiative. And if we could spread that through Central Texas or cities besides that, we'd be more than happy to work with that. We do that already for other organizations. We benchmark other organizations, do a lot of child welfare. We do a lot of group home. We do a lot of different mental health systems. So
very good.
Cities do.
Well, thank you, sir, once again for working with us, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Very good.
Mayor, if I may,
Certainly,
I
Jim.
do have a question. As you go through this, and you go through several iterations of the studies, do you find that it becomes linear or asymptotic?
Well, I find that it does top out, you know what I mean? So we do have scores increase and rise, but you do reach a point. However, with the transitional nature of the workforce, it will, fluctuate. It will fluctuate. We find that you don't usually see as big of a jump as you did for pay. However, you had a fairly large intervention for pay,
Yes, we do.
to which everybody paid attention with. I would not expect you to have that kind of jump again for pay. I would not expect it to be that way. So I think, again, as you continue, you'll see a rise, you'll see a change, you'll see some fluctuation, you'll see some variation amongst departments. You won't get scores much above a 425 just by the nature of the instrument itself.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you again, Doctor. Appreciate it. All right, very good stuff. All right, next item we have on the agenda, we have the hearing of residents, and first up this evening is Mr. Ken Greenwald.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just want to report that a lot of you won't recognize the name, but Mr. Clovis Haddock passed away a couple of days ago, about a week or so ago. He was a longtime member of the Plan and Zoning Commission, got off, moved out of state for a couple of years, came back, found out we were in a bad situation with P&Z. We had one gentleman died, another one got called up in the reserves for Desert Storm, and another one just left town. I have no idea where he went. But Clovis readily raised his hand and said, stick me on there, I'll take care of it until you can get some people trained. But he did pass away. The services won't be here. They're going to take his body to Oklahoma City for interment. He went to school up there and graduated college and all up there, and apparently his wife is from there also. But again, he did pass away, and it's not in the San Antonio paper, so you won't see it. It's in the weekly wiper. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. That's very sad
Mayor,
news.
if I may just comment on Mr. Ken Greenwald. Mr. Haddock lives about 2-3 houses down the street from me in the same street, and he was terribly missed. Every day he would walk his dog, and my wife would chat with him every single morning. Thank you, Mr. Greenwald.
Sir. And then next on the list, I have Mr. Ed Kinney. Ed?
Mayor Carpenter, council members, thank you for the opportunity to attend your meeting. 2 weeks ago, I was here to solicit assistance for our league to gain access to the Schertz Soccer Complex parking lot so our parents do not have to park along Maskey Road. Just stopped by tonight to give you an update. I've been working with Mr. Brian James, who's the lead, Mr. Carpenter's lead, on addressing our concerns. And we did bring it up informally last week, and I just talked with Mr. James tonight. He wanted us to provide a formal letter to, formally submit our request to gain access to the parking lot, which I will do tonight. He also mentioned there were some concerns regarding us using the parking lot, so I will address those concerns on the letter, and I'll make sure to get that letter to him tonight. I understand CISA has a contract with the city to manage the facility. All we're asking for is to give us the opportunity to use the parking lot. I've been there the last 3 weekends from 7 in the morning on Saturday until 10 at night. Frankly, I've never seen the parking lot full. If you look at the last page, gentlemen, that's at 11 o'clock in the morning this past Saturday, which is the peak time when the other organizations are playing as well as our league. During the last 3 weeks, we have never seen that front area filled at all, not even to a third of the capacity. And on Friday nights, it's empty because they don't play any games. We're the only ones using the fields adjacent to the soccer complex. So we'll be requesting access to the parking lot also on Friday night because the Schertz soccer complex is empty. I guess with the other leagues, I'd rather attend the football games and all that. And unfortunately, we don't have a big enough number of fields, so we're forced to play on Friday night and all day Saturday and through Saturday night. Okay, and looking at the pictures, you could see that we're doing everything we can to address the situation. Again, we're working with Mr. James to address all of this. In closing, I just want to quote the first item on the City of Schertz core values. Please do the right thing. It's not so much as our league, their league, whoever league, and all that. We just want to make sure that the City of Schertz has a safe environment for the kids and the parents to play soccer. And we have 2,000 kids in the program, about 300 families in the City of Schertz. And the rest are in the communities along, the I-35 border. And, we want to showcase that Schertz is a, family-oriented organization. So, again, it's hard for us to explain when they're parking on Mascue Road or even as far as 1518, and they're seeing the parking lot empty, and they're asking me, the board members, and all that, and we just told them we're working it, and, hopefully we can get, gain access to the parking lot soon. Okay. Again, thank you for the opportunity to, to attend your meeting. Thank you, Council.
Mr. Kenny.
Mr. Kenny, the other core values for the City of Schertz are also do the best you can, treat others the way you want to be treated, and work together cooperatively as a team also.
Yes, sir.
I just don't want them to say that there's only one core value. There are more core values.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
That's all that's signed up this evening. I'm going to move on to the consent agenda items. The first item that we have, the minutes, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 13, 2016. Item number 2, boards, commissions, and committee member resignations and appointments, and consideration or action ratifying the resignation of Becky Scheffler of the Schertz Library Board and appointment of Dawn Figueres. And item number 3, Resolution 16R76, resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, reappointing Justin Murray to the Board of Directors, Place D2 of the Cibolo Valley Local Government Corporation, other matters in connection therewith. Item number 4, Ordinance 16S32, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, amending the official zoning map by rezoning approximately 90 acres of land from pre-development district, PRE, to planned development district. And item number 5, excused council absences, excusing the absence of Councilmember Azouz from the City Council meeting of September 13, 2006. Gentlemen, any of those that need to be pulled and considered individually? If not, is there a motion to approve the items on consent?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Fowler, a second for Mr. Thompson. Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, then I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 I have 5 ayes and no nays. The motion carries. Next item that we have on the agenda this evening is item number 6, cancellation of the November 8, 2016 City Council meeting. I actually talked with Mrs. Dennis about this and recommended that we cancel that meeting. That meeting would begin while the polls are still open, and I think having any member of the public have to choose between coming to a city council meeting and exercising their right to vote is antithetical to what we are as a organization, as a country, so I've recommended that we cancel that meeting. Any other comments or questions from council, gentlemen? Is there a motion to approve the cancellation of the November 8, 2016 city council meeting?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Thompson, a second for Mr. Edwards. Any other comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
5 ayes and no nays, the motion carries. Next item we have is item number 7, Resolution 16R71, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a budget transfer between departments within the general fund and for other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Walters, good evening.
Don't worry, it's not a long presentation tonight.
Good.
What we're going to ask for you to do a little bit later is to authorize a transfer from one general fund department to another general fund department as far as the budget is concerned. There is an ordinance and a part of the charter that states that without written consent of or written request to the city council, the city management can't authorize a transfer between departments within the general fund. The overall general fund budget is remaining unchanged. So this is just transferring one to another. It won't affect the overall allocation of funds. To get started, I wanted to review the overall budget and where it stands today. For the general fund, the budget for 15-16, the revenues was $26.5 million. The expenses were $26.1. The most recent estimate, which was updated since the budget presentations, the revenues are at 26.6 and the expenditures are 25.3. The fund balance is 1.3 million estimated right now. That's a little bit higher than previously shown. We had a one-time audit adjustments on our sales taxes this last month. So we contacted them. That's not expected to continue. It was a one-time thing, so we updated the estimate to account for that. So we do plan to put back, as of right now, 1.3 million to fund balance. We still have our audit to go through, so the numbers may change slightly, but this is our most current estimate. I also wanted to touch on the fund balances real quick. Per the standard accounting practices, there are actually 5 different forms of fund balance that you'll see on the CAFR that are stated in there. One is inventory. So if we buy something and just haven't used it yet, it's still technically fund balance, but it's a non-spendable fund balance. Those would be like buying pipes or other sort of products for our water sewer system. We have them stored in stock, but we haven't used them yet. So that is considered a fund balance item. I've talked about restricted fund balance and restricted revenues, specific items allowed or sponsored by an outside organization that we get funds for that can only be spent on a very limited or narrow scope of projects. There is a committed level of fund balance where council has taken action to formally set aside a revenue stream into a separate account with rules on how it will be spent. We have done that with the CPS franchise fee. There's actually a 0.5% that we had tacked on to follow and use just like the old CPS seed fund. So we're following the same rules as that. Then comes the assigned, which is an operational designation for fund balances. It's used for operational planning in the future, to kind of put money aside knowing that it'll be taken out and kind of section that off. And then you have the unassigned, which is everything kind of left over. It can go to any sort of project. The state actually sees that assigned, unassigned, and the committed fund balances are readily available for us to use in any means we do deem necessary. The committed will take council action to take and spend on something else, but the other items, the other two can be spent for anything and are much more flexible. The restricted and inventory fund balances cannot be changed. When we did our policy setting fund balance goals, we did only select the assigned and unassigned pieces to meet our 25% operational goal. We only have the one committed right now. So, the beginning fund balance for the City of Schertz General Fund was just over $9 million. We We plan to put back the 1.3, so the ending fund balance will be 10.4, and those are the allocation amounts between the different types of fund balances. So restricted 27,000, the committed 93, the assigned 437, and then the unassigned 800,000. The one I wanted to touch on tonight was the assigned fund balance. This is the amount going back for specific items, specifically vehicles, equipment, HVAC or AC replacement, and the technology expenditures. What we're doing this year is we're assigning a little bit more in each of these categories than we had originally planned. Next year in the budget that we adopted, we only had about $8,000 going back into fund balance. In the end, we still had programs we wanted to keep on funding to keep, to get ready for future expenditures. So we needed to make annual contributions. What this essentially does is just makes next year's contribution this year with some of the extra fund balance that we've accumulated throughout the year. So that way, at the end of next year, we'll still be on target for the 2017-18 year. Vehicles will go from 300 to 500. The HVAC from 196 to 246, and the technology from 120 to 315. Back to the budget transfer. So those are how the budget and we're shaking out right now. We have some money that we can move around between departments to kind of cover some overages that we've identified. Police personnel was one area. We did adjust the police personnel in the every year as far as the budget process, as well as some other departments for expected turnover. They had much less turnover than we expected, so the budget wasn't there to cover that. So they were actually almost at full staff almost the entire year, which is very positive. We had some vacancies, savings, and some turnover savings and hiring delay savings from the finance and general services area, so we can offset some of the police budget with those items. The building maintenance side, with all the building repairs and HVAC repairs we had, we can pull some other money from general service that we identified to cover that. And then non-departmental, sort of citywide, credit card fees, copier charges, postage, items like that, just general items that had they're looking at coming in higher than we had expected. So we can pull that from some of the engineering services lines we had left over. Part of this transfer, I did want to point out, we did try to match personnel and non-personnel as two separate categories when we're doing the transfers. So that way all the personnel is contained and balanced to each other, and all the non-personnel is contained and balanced to each other. So we're not spending personnel money on physical operational items. Is there any questions over the transfer or any of the fund balance information? Okay, that is all I have.
Very good. If there are no questions, gentlemen, is there a motion to approve Resolution 16R71?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards, a second from Mr. Thompson. Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I have 5 ayes and no nays. The motion carries. Thank you, sir. Item number 8, Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Risk Pool Board of Trustee Appointments. Council to review the candidate nominations, select and nominate Board of Trustee appointments for places 6 through 9. Gentlemen, we got a chance to take a look at these. Any comments from the council on who we should cast our votes for? Working directly with the Texas Municipal League as, and again, I thank my colleagues in the 25 county area for allowing me to serve them. Being recently elected the Vice President of the TML Region 7, I can tell you that TML does a great job for us as municipalities. They've been doing a fantastic job for a very long time, and I would have no challenges or issues with casting our votes for the current incumbents, given the work that they've done.
And I wouldn't have an issue with that either, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there a motion then to Board of Trustees candidates nominating the current incumbents to the Board of Trustees of the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Risk Pool as we have listed before us?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Thompson, a second from Mr. Edwards. Any other comments or questions from council? None. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I have 5 ayes and no nays. The motion carries. All right, next item that we have on the agenda this evening is item number 9, Resolution 16R73. A resolution by the City Council of City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement between Schertz and Cibolo to share the cost of installing a traffic signal and other matters in connection therewith. Where are we doing this one?
Borgfield and Dietz Road.
Borgfield and Dietz. So green through Schertz, red from Cibolo. Okay.
There you go.
Just checking.
Sounds good.
Got it.
Good evening, Mayor.
Evening.
I'm here to ask for the consideration and/or approval for interlocal agreement between the City of Schertz and the City of Cibolo for the traffic signal at Borgfield Road and Dietz. City of Cibolo has recently approved to reconstruct a portion of Borgfield and make it into a 4-lane road to intersect with our 4 lanes that we have on our end. The City of Cibolo also has asked the City of Schertz and SCUCISD to enter into an agreement to split 3 ways. The city staff and the school district has agreed to that, and we would like to move forward with this agreement.
Very good. Council questions?
Staff recommends approval of the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into this interlocal agreement with the City of Cibolo for the new traffic lights at this intersection.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
How far down are they going to do the 4-lane? Because they start right there at Cibolo Valley coming back up, and it kind of stops and comes into a choke point in front of Cardi's. Then it's going to be widened up further. But why do the 4-lane up front by the school and not further all the way? Are they going to do it all the way down?
That'll be from Cibolo Valley Drive up to Beach Road.
Okay, that's answer my question. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 16R73.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards. I have a second from Mr. Thompson. Any other comments or questions from council? Sounds like a good idea to me. I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. 5 ayes and no nays, the motion carries. Thank you, sir. All right, item number 10 is Resolution 16R74, a resolution by the City Council of City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing and approving a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates, Incorporated, for on-call civil engineering plan review services for private land development projects and all matters in connection therewith. Ms. Woodley, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Waite. This is a request for you to authorize us to hire Kimley Horn and Associates to provide engineering plan review services. Much like we have a consulting firm that helps with building plan reviews, to help get those things through the process a lot faster than we're able to with our limited staff, and allow the engineering staff to work on a lot of other projects that have been kind of languishing because we're constantly covered up with plan reviews. So we did receive 7 responses to our request for qualifications. We interviewed 3 firms. All were quite well qualified, but we did feel that Kimley Horn provided the philosophy that most closely aligned with the way we tend to review plans, what we look for as far as code compliance and general engineering practices. Be happy to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, we request your approval of the resolution.
Council, any questions for Ms. Woodley? If not, is there, go ahead.
Have we used these people before?
We have not used Kimley Horn that I'm aware of since I've been here. We have received projects that they have designed for private development. They also quite frequently do traffic impact analyses, so we've seen their work quite a bit. After we do contract with them, they will not be able to prepare plans or studies for private developers because that would make a conflict of interest. But we have seen their work before.
How much of a training time do you think you will need to get him up to speed with our system? You say you're close.
Yeah, I don't think it will really be a significant amount of time. I would say maybe a month until we have the kinks worked out of any information transfer process, as far as picking up plans, getting them to their offices, or if we're going to do it all digitally or via email meetings versus phone calls, those sorts of things. Once we have a system worked out, They're already familiar with our codes and requirements. We will probably sit together for the first few reviews to make sure that we're in line with one another, because they are really going to act as an extension of our staff.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Zeus?
Mr. Whitley, when he said that because we're behind, are we short-staffed? Is that, how long will we be
Yes.
short-staffed?
Pardon me?
How long will we be short-staffed?
We have been short-staffed since probably before I got here. We've been trying to grow the engineering department. We do currently have 2 vacant positions. One is an engineering position that has been open for quite some time. It's not currently open. We took it off to try and sort of refresh things instead of just leaving it open constantly. We also have a project manager position that has been moved from Public Works to engineering, and hopefully we will advertise for that shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thompson?
If we were to assume that this contract had been in place, say, for the last quarter, based on your plans and what you have coming into the office, about how much would this contract have been used or this company have been used in the last 3 or 4 months?
I'm trying to decide what sort of units to put that in, if you're talking
Just ballpark,
hours or
percentage?
percentage of our time that we would have saved to use this. I would say 50%.
Okay.
Mr. Fowler?
Does that relate to a half a man year?
Or perhaps a full man year.
Really?
I mean, doing the plan reviews really is more than a single person's full-time job. We do have 3 people who participate in the review of plans, and each one not full-time, but probably 2 full-time folks.
Mr. Thompson?
If this contract were in place, what are some of the things that their services would free you up for that would benefit the city of Schertz and its residents?
Well, there are numerous projects that are underway right now, but they're very slow going. We've got some replacement water lines in the North Cliff subdivision that we're just about ready to go out to bid on. Haven't been able to work on that. The elevated storage tank project in Southern Schertz is way off schedule because we haven't been able to dedicate time to that. The master thoroughfare plan, which is well underway, we're very close to being able to bring it to you, but we haven't had the man hours to sit down and go through the final report. We've got other smaller construction projects. We also have some bigger ones, the Woman Hollering Creek wastewater line, which is a little bit on hold right now while we work through some of the right of entry issues, but that will be getting back underway and need quite a bit of attention. We also need to work on master plans for water and wastewater, and that's something that we're holding back on some because we just don't have the capacity to manage those projects properly.
So it would be very safe to say that this would be extremely beneficial to the city of Schertz and its residents.
Absolutely.
In that light, I make a motion that we pass this number 10, ordinance number 10.
Second.
Item number 10.
I have a motion from Mr. Thompson, a second from Mr. Fowler for approving Resolution 16R74. Mr. Zeus?
Yes, Ms. Whitley, just I agree. I mean, we have to do what we have to do to hire a company to do some of the work for us because we're shorthanded, but it struck me kind of odd. How long have you been with us? He said since you started with us, we've been shorthanded. How many years have you been with us?
Late 2013.
2013. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I may be missing something here, but I don't see anything that says, it tells us that we have a 3-year contract and optional extensions as well. Doesn't say what kind of rate that we're going to be using in that contract, or is that not, because it says no fiscal impact here? Oh, Exhibit B composition. Okay, thank you. I missed it completely.
Thank you.
All right, I do have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, then I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 5 ayes and no nays, the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Woodley. Next item that we have, that might be yours too. Ordinance 16D33, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Schertz be amended by revising Chapter 86, Article 5, Section 86-149, parking prohibited, and providing an effective date.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor Carpenter. I present to you a request by the residents of Valverde subdivision, which is just across the street. The Pecan Drive leads into it. And they requested no parking in front of the drainages on their street because people were parking there and restricting the flow of water. And so if you look at the exhibit, there's 3 locations there that were requested no parking in front of there, and it's just signs to be placed, nothing to be painted, and it's just to keep people from parking there and restricting the flow. Because when you restrict the flow, it increases the level of water on the streets, and so people get kind of scared about that because when there's I live in that subdivision. When there's a heavy rain, the water can almost come over the curb. So it's good to keep those areas clear during a rain.
Yep, I've seen it. This came up through the TSAC as well?
Oh, yes, and it was brought to TSAC September 1st, I believe, and they did support it.
Very good. Council, any questions? Mr. Edwards?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 16D33.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Edwards. My right ear caught it first. Second for Mr. Fowler. Council, any other comments or questions on this one? If there are none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. 5 ayes and no nays, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item we have on the agenda is the roll call vote confirmation. Mrs. Dennis?
Consent agenda items 1 through 5. Motion was made by Councilmember Fowler, seconded by Councilmember Thompson. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards voted yes. Council members Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 6, the cancellation of the November 8th City Council meeting. Motion was made by Councilmember Thompson, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Edwards. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards voted yes. Council members Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 7, resolution number 16R71. Motion was made by by Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, seconded by Councilmember Thompson. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards voted yes. Council members Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Item number 8, the nominations for places 6 through 9 of the TML risk pool. Motion was made to nominate the current incumbents. The motion was made by Councilmember Thompson, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Edwards. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, Council members Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 9, resolution number 16R73. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, seconded by Councilmember Thompson. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, Council members Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 10, resolution number 16R74. Motion was made by Councilmember Thompson, seconded by Councilmember Fowler. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, Council members Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 11, ordinance number 16D33 on first reading. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, seconded by Councilmember Fowler. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, Council members Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Next item that we have on the agenda are announcements by the city manager, and Mr. Waite says he has nothing additional this evening. Item number 13 is future agenda item request for the city council. Gentlemen, anything that we need to have on a future agenda that we don't currently have scheduled? Mr. Azus.
I don't know how we're going to put this on the agenda, but this is regarding Mr. Henry Gutierrez. And I want to be very specific, if I may. I want to read it and see how we're going to fit it, and it might be something we vote on or something that directly will go to the city manager. And this is by statement, Mr. Mayor and colleagues. I applaud you for your horrific efforts in the public safety and our community. However, when I read the agenda, it talks about our core value and a lot of other things, and I think I'm going to reserve this one for when I want us, if I may, to ask city leaders and you, Mr. Mayor, to instruct the city manager in this coming agenda, I guess, item that's going to be put on to order the chief of police to ask for help from the Texas Rangers, the FBI, the Marshal's Office to help solve or help us solve Mr. Henry Gutierrez, because I think we hitting in a dead zone. The family is very upset and hard, and I feel sorry for them. There's a lot of residents who's very disappointed and very upset, and there's a lot of negative comments out there. So I want this to be put on the agenda to see how we could seek help for our police department from outside to see if they could help us solve Mr. Gutierrez's murder, because I think the case has gotten cold. So I'd like for it to be put on the agenda to do this, if I may.
If I consider our charter and the role of the council as a policy-making body and the role of the city manager and the city manager's office as the operations and execution arm, it sounds like what you're suggesting is that the council should move beyond a policy-making motion and make a statement of direction on an individual operation.
No, since the city manager works at the privilege of the city council, we could, of course, instruct the city manager to do a lot of things, to accommodate and protect our citizens or their employees. And all I'm asking is, if we talk about core value and everything, we have to, Mr. Mayor, I feel the need that as a body, we can instruct the city manager to do so. He works for us directly under the city council. And I think I'm very correct on that. Just to ask for help. We're not ordering him to do something out of the ordinary, just to ask for help, to help us and the city and the family. That's all.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Thompson.
Seeing how this has the potential to impact the charter and the city council, maybe it would behoove us to ask our city attorney to see if the council has the ability to do this and report back to us on this.
Before we do that, find something here. Bear with me for just a moment.
So is there an update on that particular investigation?
We're getting really close to getting into a discussion about something that's not on the agenda, and I want to make sure that we don't do that. Our decision point here is it's defined for us here in the rules, and just if you give me a second, I'll find it. And I apologize, but it's very rare that we have to look at this particular one. So what we're going to do, Again, let me see if I find this one. In the next meeting, let's have an item on the agenda, and we will discuss whether or not this is an item that should be placed on the agenda, a following agenda. So it will be debated and discussed by the entire council, and then the council will decide whether or not this is something that should be placed on the following agenda. So let's put this on the agenda for next time and have the full council discuss this and have our city attorney weigh in on with any commentary that he may have at that time. And then the council will decide if this is something that should be placed on the agenda or how it should be handled.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sir. Anyone else? Mr. Fowler?
Your mic's not on.
Microphone's off.
Yeah. I would like for us to have a discussion on our merit pay. And I'd like to, at a specific point, I know that a lot of our people are taking courses to help improve their ability to do their job. But I seem to be hearing that a lot of people are taking these advanced courses, in management or some type of certification. But once they get their certifications, they're really not using that information. So, if they're being trained and they're not being allowed, I don't really particularly want to use the word allowed, they're not allowed. I just don't know that if they're taking the opportunity to fill in, let's say for a supervisor and do some of the paperwork that would be involved in what he just learned going to school. So it's a matter of saying that, I guess I'm wondering, are we giving people like a merit pay because they finished some certification, but then they're not being able to use it? So it's just something I think needs to be looked at. And if we're going to send them to school, we should allow them an opportunity to exercise that management.
So Jim, it sounds like you're asking to have an item on the agenda where we will discuss a couple of things. One, our current education reimbursement policy and program at the city, first. Second, compensation when someone's education level or certification level has changed. And then three, what do we do to utilize the skills that people have gained in becoming recently certified or educated or otherwise licensed, et cetera?
Yeah.
Okay, so that may sound a little ambiguous, but is it clear enough for staff to put something together for us on that one? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Sir. Mr. Edwards?
Mr. Mayor, I have one item that I'd like to see put on the agenda. We had talked about having the license plate readers revisited sometime in the very near future. I know a month or two ago, maybe Councilman John asked for it to be back on the agenda, and I really would like to see that item back on the agenda, the license plate readers.
Me too. Let's put that on. So for Mr. Fowler, that may take a little bit of time.
Right, that I was
Staff
going
put
to
that
ask at the
together,
convenience
so
of staff.
be
for
okay
him.
if staff set the date for that. Just give them a week or two or whatever they need to get that prepared. And then the license plate readers, we probably do that pretty quickly. That sounds entertaining. All right, anyone else? All right, if there is nothing else on future agenda item requests, and we will move to announcements by the mayor and the city council members, and we'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Edwards.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank everyone that came out to the Chick-fil-A 5K. That was a tremendous event. I saw Councilman Thompson and his wife, Mary Spence, and quite a few other members of the city staff there as well. That was a tremendous event, and I want to just thank Chick-fil-A and Tyler Haley for everything they've done, and also Miss Gabrielle Leonard. They did a great job.
Very good. Mr. Fowler?
I attended a park and rec meeting the other night, Monday night, and I thought some of the things that came up, I'll just mention that there seems to be some small pocket-type parks that they're trying to figure out what to do with and how to utilize those, and I think they're looking at them from the standpoint of, are these big enough and in the right location that the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts could use it for some of their training and everything. So I thought that was a very interesting dialogue we had. And the other is, I think they're beginning to look at, do we need to update our permit policies? So there's a lot of activity going on dealing with different parks may require a different permit relation. So I thought that was interesting. So that there's the dynamics of going on as we get bigger. I think these are just part of growing pains. We did have a discussion on that the soccer parking and the legal ramifications and things between SASA and SATEC. But it just so happened last Saturday, I happened to be driving through that area at some real peak time. Cars were parked all the way from the soccer field all the way to 1518 to where it was interfering with the traffic on 1518. So there's definitely something that has to be done because there is a safety issue going on. People going down they're parked on both sides of the road. And so you got people moving in and out, people crossing this main road. And so that really needs to be looked at. I'm very concerned that someone is going to get hurt. And we have a discussion, and y'all might want to chime in on this one of these days with the park and rec guy, is what to name the park at Crossvine. There's people that don't want to be Crossvine, they want it to be Sedona or something else. So it's just a matter of having to make that decision. So that is being looked at and under their consideration. So I thought it was a very good meeting. I thought there were a lot of things discussed, and I thought these were the prevalent ones, and I look forward to seeing these resolved. So anyway, that's about what I've been doing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Zeus?
Last week, Mr. Mayor, and we had a great turnout with fundraiser, what we call it, fundraiser on the go. We did a barbecue to go in the parking lot for the young lady with leukemia. That was the third fundraiser we've done for her, and hopefully we'll continue doing it elsewhere to help her pay her medical bills. It was very, very successful, and I thank everybody that came by and participated in that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. John? Mr. Thompson? I don't have anything else at this time. However, we do have a need for an executive session this evening, and City Council will meet in closed session under Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code, personnel matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of the municipal judge and prosecutor. So at this time, it's about 7:20 or thereabouts. We will go into executive session and complete our business and come back out as quickly as we can.
city councilman, Jim. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Oh, yeah, I know. Until the next one. What is it, November 21st? The 21st? Yeah. 22nd. No, you can do it, right, until the 22nd? No, you can't until the 22nd.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You only gotta go to one more.
Lug him. $750,000 shit. I haven't even started yet. Really, I got it on hold. And everybody asked me, when are you going to start building me my building? When? I said, trust me, in 2 weeks. I'll be telling
Okay.
you.
All right, it is approximately 7:36, and we are back in open session. Next item on the agenda is item 16A, take any action based on discussions held in closed session under agenda item 16, including possible increase in salary. Is there a motion, gentlemen, or would you like me to make it from the chair?
Mr. Mayor, I
Thompson?
move that we adopt the proposed fees as suggested per court of the judge of $950 and the prosecutor of $850.
What? I have a motion from Mr. Thompson, a second from Mr. Fowler. Any other comments or questions from the council? In that case, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 All right, have 5 ayes and no nays. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a roll call vote confirmation.
I think I got this right. Motion was made by Councilmember Thompson, seconded by Councilmember Fowler to adopt the proposed fees. The judge at $950 and for the prosecutor of $850. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards voted yes. Councilmembers Fowler, Azus, John, Thompson voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed.
Okay, very good. With the indulgence of council, I'm going to go back to item number 13 for just a moment. I'm going to request that an item be placed on a future agenda. I'd just like to have a brief discussion with the council as to the practice of reimbursing either the prosecutor or the judge, as we just talked about earlier, with regard to education and such, for attendance at seminars, for mileage for attendance at seminars, and for the practical application of their status as an employee or as a contractor. Hopefully that's it'll be on the DVD, right? You can send me an email if you want me to walk through that with you. All right. That can be done at staff's leisure when staff's ready to address that, and staff may want to call me and talk to me about what that's about. All right. Next item that we have is adjournment. Gentlemen, anything else from staff or from council? Hearing nothing, then we stand adjourned.